Welcome, 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 welcome. Good evening. Welcome to Create 30 Day 24. Wow, 24, 24. That leaves us with 6 days. And I'm sure you're very much counting down. But at the same time, I'm sure that after Create 30, you're going to miss this series and probably wish for another Create 30. So I hope that you've learned so much in this past few days. It's my utmost desire, and thank you for being a part of this. As usual, share the link with someone that you know needs this, someone that you know would be blessed by this. Um, sh- be sure to forward the link. Yesterday we started our series on no day before yesterday we started our series on what I would call community building, and we looked at the importance of community. Community is very important. Community is the creator that has the creator that you come 30 years, come 40 years is still relevant. Is the creator that has a community backing them. You understand? Community makes your endeavor sustainable. And even today more than ever, the topic we are covering today is going to matter a lot for sustainability. Why? Because recently in the US, Instagram, yeah, 24, it's been quite the journey. Recently in the US, Instagram was banned. And amidst all the clamor, all everything that happened from the point that TikTok, sorry, not Instagram, TikTok was banned. And amidst everything, what came to my mind was how about creators that spent their whole maybe multiple years building on TikTok. They were building their audience on TikTok. TikTok was their source of life. There were people that quit their job because their TikTok was taking off. There were people that was their whole livelihood. Imagine in the twinkling of an eye, one government, what do you call it, policy completely changes, you know, or cut you off from your community, cut you off from what you have spent the last few years building. It's a very crazy thing to think about, but it's something that happens more often than you think. Even though platforms might not up and shut down as often as that, because that's quite a big unique thing that happened. But many times platforms change, algorithms change. Maybe the way the platforms will push out the content can change to disfavor you, right? So as people that are thinking of longevity, as people that are thinking of being relevant, not just for now, not just with this ecosystem, like, you have to start thinking of longevity from day one, actually, because from day one you're already building. So you have to start thinking of sustainability, right? So that's where today's conversation actually comes in. And today we're talking about building independent communities. Building independent communities. And what do I define as a community? An independent community. An independent community is not particularly tied to one platform, meaning that if you were a TikTok creator and you had a parallel independent community, even though TikTok is your main distribution channel, if you're in the US and TikTok shuts down, you are not completely shut off from your community. You still have a raving community, and wherever you go, they can as well follow you there. So that is an independent community. And that brings me into why an independent community. What are some advantages? Like I just stated, platforms change all the time. It's a wise sustainable is a wise sustainable build that would have their own owned audience. What we call it is it's called an owned audience, right? Audience that is not particularly tied to any platform, or even if it's tied to another platform, it's so flexible that um, micro changes might not affect the state of that community. So I think I'm bringing this into Grade 30 because no matter what stage of creating you are, it's something that at the very least you should have in mind. and start thinking of how you are going to build towards it. Because if from day one, as you're building distribution on these platforms, you're also thinking about your you're also thinking about building an independent community, then you can start setting up structures from day one. You can start making decisions from day one, right? So another reason is because when you have an independent community, you're able to build a tailor-made community experience, tailor-made sense of community, right? um Away from whatever limitations you have on the platforms you distribute on, away from some of these restrictions you have. When you are able to get people in a room, right, you're not trying to grab their attention, from whatever they are scrolling in that time, but you already have them in a room. Then you can make some more in-depth, deeper decisions. You can have deeper conversations. Number one, you can set up things that would build a stronger sense of bond. Maybe have quiz night or game night or all those kind of community building activities, right? You can have separate calls. you know they can have access to some things that you're not releasing publicly because of some restrictions. Do you understand? So things like that. That's another advantage that comes with having an independent community. Thirdly, it's on the business side, is a very, very wise decision, right? Let's assume you are building a course, or at some point you want to write a book and release your book, or at some point something that has to do with money, has to do with giving an offer. It's easier to place your offer in front of people that you've already nurtured over time. You already have that sense of community. In many cases, they might even know the process you went through to building that thing, and it's easier to position your offer there. That's a very good kickstart. Do you understand? So imagine you have a thriving community of 200 people, and about about 80 of them are super fans, right? And then you release this one. I'm using 80, they want to be complicated. You release let's say a course. Release a course, and your course is 10,000 naira, right? And you release it, and you first of all put it in front of your already thriving community, right? Let's say those 80 super fans decide to buy, with maybe 20 other people that are not really super fans, they are casual fans, right? I don't know if we talked about the concept of super fans and casual fans. I think I touched on it a bit. But basically, a super fan is someone that is ready to purchase stuff, that is ready to go, even travel to another city for an event because you held an event. They go the extra mile, and as a creator you find those super fans, right? So of course you have to nurture your super fans. Then you have your casual fans. Casual fans are basically, and yeah, the word is just a concept. In fact, there's an article I would love you to read. It's called 1,000 True Fans. 1,000 True Fans. It's a very popular article. So just type it up and read it. It expands on this whole idea of community. So I would really encourage you to read that article. So yeah, so that's where the concept of super fans come from. So let's say in total 100 people buy the 10,000 naira course, right? At a start, right? First of all, that's 100 times 10,000. That's how much? I think 1M. So in your first drop, you have made 1 million on the course. But beyond that, you're able to get people that would run the course at first and get their feedback. You can make adjustments. You can also get testimonials, etc. All these are amazing for business, right? So that's on the business side. So those are some of the advantages of building an independent community. Now let's get into the platforms you can build independent communities of. What do independent communities look like, right? And the first one I have here is Telegram, WhatsApp, and Discord communities. And I'll just touch a bit on each of them. I'll start from WhatsApp community. WhatsApp communities are basically groups that you create, and people can join through the invite link. So let's say you're creating content about the Bible, right? an independent community in that sense would look like a Bible study group that is like an offshoot of whatever you're building or whatever you're distributing publicly. Yeah, so that is what it would look like. So WhatsApp group would, it's very advantageous in the sense that many people actually use WhatsApp often, frequently, and because it will be top of mind, because it will be easily accessible, it's likely that the interactions there would be more. It's possible that people would spend more time on that community. But some downsides are the fact that you need to, when you join a WhatsApp group, anyone in that community has access to that number. A lot of people might have privacy issues with that. They might not want to, especially if they are strangers, right? People that don't know you, they might not want to join a group where they might start receiving spam and stuff like that. Also, there's a limit, right? Because let's say you're just starting out and there are a few people in that community. We don't want to approach our creator journey as if we're not expecting growth, right? So the fact that there's a limit to the number of people in the WhatsApp community, it's something you also need to think about. Secondly, Telegram communities are a bit more secure in the privacy sense. I believe they're a bit more secure in the privacy sense, and they have a lot of capabilities that would actually support um, many of your community engagement activities. Yes, so another one I see very often, especially with very large creators, are Discord communities. I think on the privacy side is even more private than um, Telegram. And one cool thing you can do with Discord is to create different rooms. So for large creators tend to have community members with slightly different interests, right? So there are these creators, Colin and Samir. Colin and Samir are these amazing creators. By the way, I think there's a video that Colin and Samir did. I think the title of the video is 30 years of YouTube advice in 25 minutes. It's an amazing video. I think definitely if you're on the YouTube space, you should check it out. So Colin and Samir. In Create Community, if you want me to post the link, I'll post it. So there are two things I've suggested in the course of this. That's the article 100 True Fans and the video by Colin and Samir. So Colin and Samir have a Discord community, and some of the community members are more into creator news and what's going on in the creator economy and stuff like that. So they would have their own pages, and then you have some people that are more nerdy. They are more nerdy about technical stuff that are going on in the creator world, maybe AI updates and stuff like that. So they would have the place they hang out. So Discord kind of gives you the room to like, it's like a very large party with different corners where people are discussing different things. So that's basically Discord, but not much on that. I wouldn't go too deep into that. Those are just some options you have in terms of group-based communities. So some other communities are not as group-based. For example, you have newsletters. Having a newsletter is an amazing thing to have. And basically a newsletter is basically getting a list of emails that you send emails to regularly, right? And they are definitely very solid platforms for hosting newsletters. You have something like ConvertKit. I think ConvertKit have changed their name. Let me quickly Google it. I think ConvertKit. Yeah, they have changed their name to Kit. So if you go to kit.com, you can build your newsletter on it. So basically, if you're into writing, if you write a lot, it would be very amazing if you have a newsletter series. So people can sign up and you write them often, right? I read newsletters often. So there are people that actually consume newsletters, right? So it can be a daily newsletter. Colin and Samir have a weekly newsletter. Some people have 3 days in a week. So why is this important? It's important to have, because newsletter is the most owned form of audience, right? Because the other ones we talked about, Telegram, WhatsApp, all those are still dependent on those platforms. If one day those platforms decide to pack up and shut down, then you have lost your whole community. But for something like a newsletter, you have the emails of all these people and you can send them regular newsletters, right? So it's a very good idea. It's an amazing idea to start a newsletter, because I think anyone that signs up for your newsletter is most likely a super fan, and you can reach them with your offers easily. You can reach them with things that you want to promote, things that you believe you need to share with them. You can reach them more easily. So owned, remember, we're talking about owned media, right? So Kit is a good place to start. It was formerly known as ConvertKit, but the name is now kit.com. Another one is MailChimp. MailChimp is a bit more complex, but I think you have MailChimp and kit.com. So you can use those to build your newsletter. Definitely, as a creator, I think it does you some benefits to try out different media, right? So even if you're not 100% sold on the newsletter thing, I think it's something you can try out. Just go to kit.com and check it out. Check out what are the capabilities, watch videos on it, and just be informed about what's going on in the creator world, right? So another one is so newsletters, very beautiful and amazing idea. Another way you can build independent communities through Patreon. So Patreon is actually one of the independent communities that you can make money from, right? So it gets to a stage in your creator journey where people are willing to pay for certain things exclusively, right? So you give out a lot of free content. That's the nature of the internet, right? Everything you give out is free, right? But at a certain point, it is possible to have exclusive content that would be for people that are paying. It's possible to have maybe merchandise that is available to people that are paying. So Patreon is an interesting site, and I don't know, I tried to get on Patreon site this night, but I don't know if their site is down, which would be funny. But let me see if I can get on it again. Patreon.com, except they are not available in Nigeria, which I doubt, which is very interesting that I can't get on their site this night. But Patreon is basically like you have paid memberships, right? And this is one way we're going to talk about monetization very soon. I think the second to the last day. Let me see, when are we talking about monetization? Yeah, it's the last series, monetization. But when we're talking about monetization, one way to actually monetize as a creator is by having paid communities, right? Where people would actually pay a small fee and to be part of a community, right? So when you offer enough value, you can offer enough value that people would be willing to pay to get access to that value, right? So that's basically, we talked about general group communities, we talked about newsletters, which is a fantabulous idea. You should definitely try it out. And then we also talked about Patreon. So now that you have the tools in your hand for a community, you know why you would want to build an independent community. I want to talk to you about how to actually approach building a thriving community, right? So one way to build a thriving community is to create awareness consistently. Definitely don't get tired of creating awareness about your community, and slowly people will trickle in. At different points they might be quantum leaps. You can get to points where a lot of people will just join your community, but at certain points people will just trickle in, and over time your community will grow, right? But that brings us to the point that you wouldn't want it to just grow in numbers but not grow in quality. So to hammer down on the points, um you need to create awareness consistently every day. Even with something like Create 30, when we do a Create 30 episode, sometimes we are 3 in the live, sometimes we are 7, sometimes we are even 1, right? But when you go back to past episodes, you see that over time there are people that would watch afterwards. There are people that were not able to join the live that would watch. There are people that so the numbers always look larger than the live stream, right? That's why it's amazing that you can have these constantly online. So why am I saying this? There will be people that would watch after. There will be people that might not always be, they will be new people, right? Your content is always being introduced to new people, and because of this, you want to create awareness as often as possible, so as many people that would be interested would be aware. Because it's one thing for someone to be interested, another thing for them to be aware in the first place. And many times we assume that, oh, people know, people just don't want to join. So you need to create awareness consistently as often as you can, right? Then number two, you need to nurture the community, because it's not enough, like I said, it's not enough to grow in quantity or in numbers. You also have to grow in quality, right? You need to nurture the community. And what does nurturing the community look like? You need to engage them. You need to um give them value, right? You need to keep finding ways to provide value to the community. Value is important. I hope I'm still live. Yeah. Value, you need to create a way to constantly give them value. And this takes us back to day 22. Day 22, yes. And I think that should be something that you go back to often and often, to see why it's important to go the extra mile to create value. Basically, if you want to be a successful creator, you want to build a habit of consistently giving out value, more value. Give, 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 give. Eventually you get to ask, and your ask would be, when you're promoting something for people to engage. Your ask would be when you're selling something for people to buy into it. But you need to give more than you ask. So you need to give. That's the game. You give as much value. The more value you give, the more quality your audience is. The more your audience grows, the better it is for the whole ecosystem. So you need to consistently give, consistently think of ways to add value to your community. Nurture your community. A community that isn't nurtured is as good as no community, because the community dies. And what you don't want is a dead community. There's no point of having a community if it's dead, right? So you need to keep morphing yourself, keep improving, keep getting feedback, keep doing nurturing your community. Another thing is that you need to create with your community. This is something that isn't talked about as often, but you can actually bring your community into the creative process. And there are a couple of ways of doing this. Number one, you can make creative decisions along with your community. When you are part of the creation of something, that thing becomes your thing. And that is how people have a stronger sense of community. So you want to bring creative decisions. Oh, I'm trying to choose between these two colors for my new campaign, pink or purple, right? And you ask them and they vote. And then when they vote and most of them choose the purple, and you go with purple, even if it's very little, they are part of that creation process. Do you understand? You can also, thumbnail ideas, stuff like that. Many times they might, depending on how much they want to do. Sometimes you can get helping hands. Oh, I have this design I need to finish up, and there's this. Is there anyone available to help with it? And people would more often than not be so happy to help you out. So create with them. Also collaborate with them. It's my assumption that the people in your community would have very similar interests as you, or they be building similar things as you, because that's why you are connected in the first place, right? So you can find avenues to collaborate with them. If they are also creators, which is a very niche thing, but if they're also creators, you can have collaborative posts with them. Find ways to create with your community. That builds a stronger sense of community. It builds a stronger sense of ownership. It builds your super fans would grow from that. So just to recap everything we talked about today, we first of all talked about the fact that it is a very wise and sustainable idea to build an independent community. And I think the biggest reminder for us is the fact that just quite recently, TikTok was banned in the United States and in Europe, right? And I know creators on TikTok in the US that was basically they basically built everything they are today on that platform. their source of livelihood was on that platform. In fact, it was said that after the TikTok ban, the increase in job applications in the service industry was so much. So that means people went back to work in McDonald's, people went back to work in Chip to lay, in the service industry. People went back to be waiters, to be chefs, not really chefs, but service people, right? So that means there were a lot of people that their jobs were literally on TikTok and they had to go back to doing this. So, but if there was one of them or a couple of them that actually built an independent community, then it would be easy to pivot to another platform and their super fans will follow them there. It might not be everybody, it might not be the whole number, but you have people that are not dependent on the platforms, right? So that is our main premise for this argument. And we talked about other advantages where it's easier to you have access to these people and you can position your offers in front of them more easily, right? So we call them owned audience, right? Not borrowed audience. So when you're on a social media platform, those people are not really your audience, they're just YouTube audience, right? Let's say you're on YouTube, so they are on the app YouTube because they want to be on YouTube, not because they went to meet you in most cases. So what you have to do is to try and get their attention. So what you're doing on these social media platforms, many times you're just struggling to get their attention, grab their attention, etc, right? But when you have a more settled, more solid community, you're able to have deeper conversations, you're able to build um, a community bond in a more deep way, in a more connected way, and you're able to also position your offers from things you're promoting and offers in general. So when you have stuff going on, people have an easy route to access them, right? You don't just have to post into the world and pray that this end up seeing it. Because what if the algorithm changes and these people end up not seeing it? That's to your disadvantage. So we talked about some platforms that we can consider for building our independent communities. We talked about group-based communities, communities on Telegram, WhatsApp, Discord, and we talked about advantages and disadvantages of each of these. We also talked about building having newsletters, which is an amazing idea, and I believe that anyone that is willing to use newsletters, number one, as an avenue to improve their writing, because if you write every day or if you write every week or if you write 3 times every week, I bet that I can guarantee that you would inevitably become a better writer. And one of the greatest skills you can have in today's day and age is the ability to write, the ability to communicate through writing. That's something that will take you really far. Copywriting is a skill that every creator must have. Copywriting is a skill, I repeat, that every creator must have. So if you are a creator and you are not yet honing your skill of writing, I guarantee you that at some point you would need it, and at some point something that you're doing would bank on your ability to write and influence people through your writing, convince people through your writing. So I think that's an amazing thing to embark on. Newsletters. We also talked about Patreon and or other payment subscription services, right? Generally, you can even, for something like this, you can even build your own website, but that's a very long route. It depends on the route you decide to take ultimately. So we talked about some things to put in mind while building, right? You need to constantly create awareness. You also need to nurture your community, and finally, you need to what was the last one? Create with your community. Thank you very much for joining us on Create 30 today. It is day 24, and tomorrow we'll start a new series. Tomorrow we're starting with consistency and time management, which is a big one, which is you can't be a creator without having to deal with consistency and time management. Very important. So we'll start that series tomorrow, and I hope to see you. If you're not joined our Create community, be sure to join us. Thank you very much and have a wonderful night rest. Goodbye.
How was today's session? I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comment section. Now, to ensure that you put everything you learned into practice, we are building a community of creators just like me and you that come together to keep each other accountable, to share ideas, and to grow together. The name of this community is called Kreate Community. To be a part of this community is simple and it's free. All you have to do is click the link pinned in the live chat or the link in the description. Thank you so much and see you tomorrow. Bye.